Hello, everyone. This is Thomas Pepin, NHL Talk. I'm Thomas Pepin, and let's talk about the NHL. All right. So, today is a subject I'm excited to take a look at. And I should just preface this by saying it's not going to be um, perfectly scientific. It's kind of more to get an idea of things. And I think in advanced analytics, they probably examine some of this stuff probably in more depth. I haven't looked at it. Not super familiar with advanced analytics at this point. Maybe something I'll get into. But in any case, so the subject is what percentage of goals and assists do forwards and defensemen produce? And so when I've gone over my Be a Real NHL GM series, I keep talking about how I would allocate more of the cap spending to forwards to increase the team's offensive production than I would to defensemen, and how a lot of people like. Well, again, going back to the comments, a lot of people in the comments they say, "Oh, you're crazy! You would want to trade away Roman Yossi uh, or Charlie McAvoy's another one I just did." Um, there's a long list of defensemen I would trade if I had them and I was managing a franchise. So this is kind of to hopefully at least superficially prove me right. Whether or not it's the case, again, as always, this is unscripted. I don't know the answer. Uh, and there's no prep work except for knowing the subject. So we'll discover this on the spot here. Um, and again, it's not perfectly scientific, but it should give you a general idea because if, well, first, it's in all likelihood, I mean, this is kind of guaranteed that on a percentage basis, forwards score more goals than defensemen. I think that's probably guaranteed. Uh, Assists, I'm not as certain. And then what I'm going to hopefully be able to take a look at is primary and secondary assists. I don't know. I thought NHL.com has that, but I don't know for sure. So we'll have to see. If not, then assists will do. And yeah, so we'll just see um, on a representative basis if forwards overproduced, underproduced, and same story with defensemen. And so my hypothesis is that on a percentage basis, defensemen produce less than they represent. And so there's a bunch of different ways that we could do this. You could do it on ice time. You could do it. Well, the way that I was thinking that just came to mind was to do it on roster spot. So defensemen are 6 roster spots of whatever it is, 6 plus 12, 18. Yeah, and then we'll eliminate the goalies from the stats. So 6 of 18 roster spots. Do they produce at that percentage, or do they produce less? And then as a result, in theory, you should be spending that percentage on defensemen and forwards according to their production. So anyway, so that's kind of the background, what we're going to have a look at. Again, I don't have the answers. I have no idea. And it should be relatively quick to figure this out. And so I think I'm going to break it down in the past 5 years. Wait, how should I do this? Because typically the way I do this is to previous lockouts, because usually it feels like it's not necessarily the case, but it feels like there's a change, partially because there's changes to rules in the CBA, but it feels like there's a change in the way the game uh, is played. So like things get more offensive, or with like, for example, eliminating two line passes and things like that. So, anyways, it just feels like there's a change each new CBA, and there's pretty much always a lockout for each CBA. So, anyways, so that's, I think I'm going to do that. So I'll have to go back and figure out when each of the lockouts were, and then we'll run the numbers from that. So that's the plan. So bear with me as I navigate, gather information, run the numbers, and so on, because again, it's done on the fly. So first, we start with NHL lockouts. So it is 94-95, which is almost 30 years. I forget what the changes were like in the game. So there's still clutching, grabbing, I think. I think it's stopped around the next lockout. So we'll go from, so that's about 20 years from 0405 to now. And then we'll do, yeah, because that's pretty much 10 years for the next one. So that's fine. Okay. So we'll do from each lockout 0405. So that's going to be 0506. 0506. And then shortened season for 2012-13. Due to last year, just so that they're full seasons. Not that it really makes a difference. It should be pretty much the same, but whatever. We'll just do that because I have obsessive compulsive disorder, I guess, and I don't like to do partway through seasons. So there you go. And I know there's some of these are shortened seasons, and if I really did have obsessive compulsive, maybe that wouldn't work. But I've got my version of obsessive compulsive disorder. So, so that's 21, 22. Okay, and then I'm going to need defensemen and then totals from everybody to calculate. Or wait, is that right? Let's do keep it simple, stupid concept, and we'll just keep it simple. All right, so 0506 to last year, all forwards. So this is one thing. Oh, I'm gonna have to do that again. Oh, it's frustrating. So I wish they had it where you could export everything in one Excel. Oh my God. I got 20 pages to condense. Oh, that's unfortunate. Can I do this an easier way? I can order them by that. And then I do it once. Yeah, we'll have to do it that way. Yuck, guys. Yuck. 31 spreadsheets I have to manually condense. I'm sorry. Okay, well, let's get started. In that case, then, should I do it? Well, okay, we'll just see how long this takes, and then we'll go from there. So we'll do the longest version first. So from 0506 to, well, last year. Oh, stupid thing. And then we'll see how long that takes, and then we'll figure out if we'll do it again for the next time frame. Like, I know this, in reality, it's not going to take a crazy amount of time, but I tell you, it is frustrating. So, if ever, no, it's not even going to happen really, but not in the time that it's going to matter. But if anybody was watching from NHL.com, they need to change this. So if you have anything to do, it's probably at least like 5 minutes. So maybe go find something to do. There's squirrels outside, and I've got the curtains open again this time. So if you've got curtains that are closed, maybe open your curtains and watch the squirrels or something. I'll give you something to do. See, and I think I've said this before. The reason I do this on the spot is because if I had to spend all this time in prep work, then none of it's actually recorded. And if people happen to watch, I'm getting credit with watch time. And in the long run, that's going to be good for maybe not because like retention and stuff, but anyways, watch time will go up, which I think should help me in the long run with my channel. So the whole purpose is to get benefit out of the time I spend on this, because otherwise, I mean, I'm spending all this time by myself, doing all this work, and then it's like a 5-minute stream. Doesn't seem like I'm getting the value out of it. I know that people would be sitting here and twiddling their thumbs, but like I said, I mean, you can go do something. Otherwise, in theory, as this channel grows, hopefully, we'll have the chat open and people will be chatting, talking about different things. I'll have a look at the chat and maybe make comments as I'm working on things. Like, so it's not for nothing that I have plans to do it this way, but yeah, in any case, I mean, just objectively speaking, the fact that I'm doing all this stuff and nothing's really happening of any substance, it's like, yeah. And you know what's funny is when you're working on something and you're talking at the same time and you can't actually figure out if you're making any sense. Thankfully, this is kind of mindless work, and hopefully I'm actually making sense. But I can't recall what I just said. I mean, in general, I have an idea, but it's just kind of funny. Okay, so all the spreadsheets are gathered. Let's take these and put them somewhere else. Okay, and there's 31. There's supposed to be 31, so excellent. Okay. So good. So I have all the data. Now I have to take those 31 spreadsheets and put them into one spreadsheet. Sorry, I'm just thinking, and I don't think. Never mind, don't mind me. All right. So yeah, anyways, like I said, just condensing all of the spreadsheets into one. And then I can run the data. And it sucks because like half of these spreadsheets are players where they played one game and had no points, had like 5 minutes of ice time or whatever. So it's a waste for a bunch of it. I mean, I could have, in theory, narrowed it down to people that played a minimum of X number of games or whatever, but in reality, we're trying to see across the board, and then it kind of skews things from being full data as opposed to manipulated data. So I'd rather the full stuff. So again, maybe that's obsessive compulsive. And then on top of it, this isn't perfectly scientific anyway. So why am I going crazy over the some of the details? But again, some portion of my habits are as a result of some habits or tendencies or whatever you want to call it. So that is just something I have to deal with, and as a result, you have to deal with. So I'm sorry, but also not sorry. Um, and again, in the end, I mean, it's like I said, so there is a rationale behind it. It's full versus partial data, which has my bias that would be in it if I started to narrow it down to whatever my bias would dictate. So So it's not just for nothing, but in the big picture, maybe it is nothing. So whatever. Oh, and I forget if I mentioned this at the beginning. I don't think I did, but sorry for being a bit late. So short story, I guess. I was feeling extremely hungry, and I don't eat till after this. I was thinking I need to have my meal prepared so I can eat right away after because I'm really hungry. So yeah, prepare it before rather than after means less wait time to eat after doing this. So I was in the middle of chopping some tomatoes, and that made me late. I'm sorry. Again, sorry, not sorry, but so that's my excuses. I'm really hungry today, and well, in the end, so okay, I guess so. Let's be objective here. So if I make it before, you guys had to wait 15 minutes if you're waiting, and I don't think anybody was, maybe one person, um, versus me having to wait the amount of time it takes to prepare the stuff at the end, plus how long it takes. Well, I know, but that's actually going to happen no matter what. So the length of time it's going to take for me to prepare it afterwards, um, which preparing the meal would take a bit of time. I don't know exactly how long, but it's more than 15 minutes. So in the long run, uh, actual time spent is less per person, but cumulatively, it's more time spent. But actually, again, because there's only what appears to be one person uh, who is waiting. So in the end, actually, in total, it's more time saved um, from the delay, I guess. And again, I'm talking and I can't remember exactly what I'm saying. So I hope that made sense. But it's like the greatest good for the greatest number, but except that's not actually logically correct. But we'll pretend it is. And I like pretending that I'm right. I don't know if that's funny. Thankfully, I find myself funny. So I'm getting a crack out of my lame jokes. All right. So I am on the last two spreadsheets to condense. And then I'll be done. And should I, 30, 20, 5 is correct. Okay, so now the next question is, so I'm trying to figure out, do I just do the values or on a per game basis? So total, let's say goals. So total goals divided by, or goals from forwards divided by total goals. Does it matter if they score more per game? Or is it just total? That's tough. Again, I guess we'll use the keep it simple stupid thing, and we will keep it simple. So, let's, oops, I did that wrong. Let's do it like this. And we want to order by that, I don't think that's going to work though. Okay, let's. Oh, that's not right. Sorry, I'm just trying to find the most efficient way of separating defensemen from forwards. And it's because the annoying thing is that the abbreviation is D, and it's not because it's alphabetical. That makes it so D is in the middle of all the rest, where it would be nice if it was just at one of the ends, but now I'm going to have to make it at one of the ends. Here's the end of that. We are going to cut, paste, move that up. Oh, wait, it's easier to just do this. Cut. Paste. And I think that worked. Yeah, perfect. Okay. So, how much time did that actually take? Don't know, but I think that's more than 5 minutes. Anyways, now I can run the numbers. So this should be relatively quick. Oh, shoot. Well, I might have made a mistake, but we'll just cross our fingers that the data wasn't there, and then it won't have been a waste. Some that, some that. Is that right? Okay, so we want that, place that with that. Then copy that. Perfect. Let's just double check that's correct. Good. And that is that minus that. Equals that divided by that. So I'm just running the numbers now on percentages and stuff. So I did the totals and then now I'm doing the percentages. Already this is looking interesting. Yeah. Okay, and then the way I wanted to do this was, so there's 6 defensemen, 12 forwards, that's 18 spots. So that means equals 6 divided by 18 equals 12 divided by 18. And yeah, so it doesn't really make sense on a per game basis, really, anyways. Just total numbers, I think. Okay, so uh, and now we have the results. So something that, I mean, in the end, I'm going to discuss this too, but we'll, anyways. So something that took that long, but I'm going to talk about it for probably, well, just about the same amount of time or less. So it's just funny. Anyways, so let's change these into percentages because it looks nicer. All right, so Okay, so first of players, not goaltenders, of roster spots, and we're just talking about people that actually get uh, put on the ice, or well, sorry, that are uh, that are set to play on any given night. Oh God, there's a term for it. I think it's something simple that I'm gapping on. The lineup, I guess. So, yeah, I guess, yeah, on the lineup for any given night. Excuse me. There are 33.33% of the players are defensemen. 66.67% are forwards. So, in theory, on a percentage basis, defensemen should produce, just from the number of people that are playing, should produce 33.33% of the points, so goals and assists, and then forwards should be 66.67% of the goals and assists, in theory. Um, Whether or not that's true, that's what we're having a look at here. So, first, it's interesting. So, I'll go with the one where there's a substantial difference, and uh, this will kind of prove my point that I'm talking about. So, value goals most, and I mean, maybe I'm saying something obvious, but I guess not so much in the end. But uh, so, in my opinion, you should, as a GM, you should value goals scored more than anything else, including assists. It doesn't matter. Everything is all based on goals scored because you need to outscore your competitor. So goals are a priority. That's how you win games, by outscoring the competition. Now, I know there's a whole bunch of other factors. I'm just in If you put things down to the basics, it's just goals for need to be more than goals against. It's that simple. Um, how those goals come about, we'll just ignore that at the moment. So you want more goals than your competitors, which means you need to value goals produced on your team more than anything else. Now, when it comes to advanced analytics, there could be things like, like I've said previously, puck possession, or creating plays, which might not necessarily result in points, and so on. But in general, if I had to take a guess now, again, because I'm not into advanced analytics, I don't know this if this is true, but in general, I would say it should give you enough information out of goals on the importance of the players. Uh, I guess just broadly speaking. So, uh, again, what I was going to say is where there's the biggest discrepancy between forwards and defensemen is in goals produced. So, like I said, 33.33% of the roster, or of the starting lineup, is defensemen. Uh, and for goals, it's 14.95 according to the numbers I just ran. And then again, this is from the 05-06 season up until last season. So 33.33 versus 14.95. Major difference there. That's like, well, it's less than half. So defensemen do not score enough on a roster spot basis. That's kind of obvious because forwards are forward. And so as a result of being more forward, you're more likely to score goals. I mean, that should be obvious. Now, as a result, I think that means it should also be obvious that you allocate more money towards them because they're going to score more. I think. That's my opinion. And so, at least in this regard, it kind of proves the point. Defensemen just don't score as much as forwards. And then, so, uh, I mean, if you do the math, it's obvious, but 85.05% of the goals come from forwards, and they're 66.67% of the roster spots or starting lineup spots. So, forwards score more. Uh, in my opinion, I think that gives you a good idea that you should spend more on them uh, when it comes to cap spending. That's just my opinion. Now, this is where it's somewhat interesting, and maybe I don't know if it necessarily proves me wrong, but it makes it so I would say it's not as clear necessarily, but I would say that it's still leaning towards me being right. So, uh, in the case of assists, 30.78% of the assists come from defensemen, where, like I said, they represent 33.33% of the starting lineup. So they nearly produce assists on the same or at the same rate as their representation. So that means that they do produce, or I should, I guess maybe a better way to put it is they are involved in goals approximately at the same rate uh, as they do comprise the starting lineup. So in that case, I mean, but see, this is where I still think I'm right, and it's because since that percentage is lower. So, for example, let's say defensemen produced 34% of the assists. Well, then that indicates, okay, well, they actually are more involved in producing goals maybe uh, than you would think, because they're a higher percentage of than what they actually represent in terms of um, roster spots. Uh, so then that could prove me wrong, but since it's less, 30.78 versus 33.33, well, uh, it means they're still below their representation, which indicates to me that they produce at a lesser rate. Now, this is why I think um, it kind of makes sense to go over a more recent time frame, because now we're going back to what was it again? 0506. Um, yeah, 0506 to last year, where defensemen maybe weren't as active in plays towards the earlier part of that. Maybe I don't know if that's the case. So maybe it changes when you change the time frame, uh, and then as a result, maybe as things proceed, maybe defensemen are actually going to be worth more, proving me wrong in that case of how much you should spend on defensemen. Still, I think the time frame for that to be true would be multiple years down the line, but it could be true. I would have to take a look, and that's why you would want to maybe take a look. But um, what time are we at now? We're at 44 minutes. So I think for the time spent to do that, we might as well just continue that tomorrow and have a look at that. So continuation tomorrow of this, but nonetheless, we'll still talk about because there's still more I have to say on this. Um, so we've discovered that uh, defensemen produce 14.95% of goals, where they represent 33.33 of the starting lineup. Uh, And then assists, they produce 30.78%, and there's again 33.33% of the lineup. So they produce both goals and assists less than the representation of the lineup on any given night. So, at least superficially, my hypothesis looks to be correct. And again, not scientific because this is just goals, assists. It's not taking a look at more complicated, advanced analytics and all that kind of stuff. So I would still uh, hypothesize. I would predict that this would still be true if you went even into advanced analytics. But, anyways, I think in the end, what you'd want to figure out is what is it? Possession. Um, what would it be? Goals for and against you'd want to factor in with possession. Or that, oh man, see, this is what I mean is it's so complicated to get the actual answer. So would it be uh, times they touched the puck before the puck went in the net, or how close to the time of the goal they most recently touched the puck, and then the quantity of those times, or the time between touching the puck before the goal uh, and then the sum of the least amount of times totaled to figure out how often they were touching the puck closest to the goal to figure out their impact on the goals. Something along those lines. Like, I mean, if you're following where I'm going with things, because this is complicated. Uh, so this is where I can't see advanced analytics answering this question at this point. Maybe I'm giving ideas right now for people in advanced analytics to actually be able to quantify a player's impact on goal production, for example. So this is where it's funny because the channel is so small that nobody's seeing this. But anyways, yeah. So just that's where I can't see even with advanced analytics at this point, unless people have done what I'm speaking of or have found a way to calculate things. I can't see how really people can provide necessarily better answers than what I've just given, which is again not perfectly scientific, but should be representative enough. So, um, so I kind of stand by my argument here. Now, for let's just have is there a way to do this? So already I know there's other studies. I don't want to give them away because maybe I'll do them eventually, but I know there's other ways that I would like to analyze this question. And I can't do them easily because a lot of this information is not gathered uh, in a easy to use format. So I'm going to have to do things anecdotally. What is a good example? um, all right, let's look at. Oh, wait. Just before I do that, I want to see if there is the other data point. So I was going to mention this before, but now I want to give myself an excuse. So the one problem about doing this on the spot is you might forget to check things. And I did forget to check something, which would make me have to do this all over again. And so now I'm letting you know about it because I've already given you something of some sort of value. So I can at least argue my case that I've done something of value uh, before discovering that I've screwed something up. But we will look. So just give me a second. I'm going to have a look at because I'm going to run numbers on the anecdotal thing that I was talking about. But first, I want to see if there's another thing. So I was mentioning about primary, secondary assists, and I forgot to run that if in fact it exists. So that's what I'm going to check is if there are those data on the website. In any case, actually, I'm going to have to get rid of this so it doesn't matter. So I'll just do that. Get stats. Oh, and I wanted to go for that team. Can I even go back? I can't even do that. We'll have to do it for this year. We'll do it for them. Okay. So, anyways, now we want. Goals for, against, face off, miscellaneous, hits, takeaways, penalty shots, power play, puck possession. So I think the NHL's done a better job of gathering data. I think they partnered with Amazon. What's their? I think it's a subsidiary. AWS, Amazon something services. I forget what they're called. Yeah, I think they paired with them to gather this data, and so I think the data's improved. But yeah, so it helps out with analytics. Goals as a percentage of shot attempts. As a percentage of roster spots, maybe is something that you could have a look at. Scoring per 60. Let's see. So they do have it, primary assists. And that's since 09-10. When was the lockout? So it can be done for the newer stuff. So I didn't screw things up. I can do it for the new stuff. I have no idea what just flew and hit the window. That's weird. I think it's a bird. So this is what I mean about squirrels and distracting. Good, so not wasted time. couldn't go back and do this anyways. So again, more reason to do this tomorrow. So okay, so anyway, so that answers the question at least for that. So I know to do that tomorrow. We'll do that. Primary assists, secondary assists, and goals per 60 for forwards and defensemen. So there we go. And the quantity of data is going to be less, so the time to count, and it's just summing and basic division. So it should be essentially the same amount of time as today, or less time because there's less data. So, so that's what we're doing tomorrow. Now, what I was going to do is again go through some things anecdotally. So, we are going to look at production of the Boston Bruins, and we'll keep things simple for today, but we'll do it more complicated tomorrow. So what I'm going to have a look at here is goals, assists on a percentage basis for forwards and defensemen as compared to their cap hit. If that makes sense, but it will make sense as I go through it. So let's, I think that's got everything on one. Yeah. So let's export that. Open that. Close that. Oh, I shouldn't have closed it. I'm going to do that again. Anyways, is it opened? Yes. Okay. And I can't do that another way. Eliminate all these other data points. Then we want bookmark this. For tomorrow. Don't need that. We want, I forget if I just said this, but anyway, so we're going to take a look for Boston goals, assists, and compare it to cap hit. How do I gather this? We want, I hope this copies over well. I think it's close enough. I hope this works. Yeah, it didn't go over too cleanly, but pretty darn close. Which is good news. We want this. Oh, I do want that. Hence that. Don't want that. Don't really need that. Move those. I can get rid of these. Oh, perfect. Okay, so it did translate at least reasonably well. Just give me a second to clean all the data here. It's not horribly done. Still not useful enough yet. Okay, nearly done for at least a half of it. Sum this to, huh? Is that right? Oh, well, that's good. Okay, so that's fine. Now we need to eliminate that. Don't really need this. We want get rid of that. Bring that over. Nearly there. Okay, so that's done. Now we just need to find the stragglers here. DeBrusque did play. Bring him there. His cap hit is that. Bring that down. Okay, now get rid of. Ooh, we want to keep that actually. Good. Okay. So I forget if I mentioned this. So I'm just pulling together right now. I'm going to compare the same calculation that I just did, but for one team in particular. I chose Boston, and so now I'm just gathering all the salaries of the players and then lining them up with their position, forward or defense, and their production. I just need to make sure that I'm getting all the people that are involved here. What is Mike Riley's cap hit? 3 million. Yeah, and this isn't going to be a perfect science, but because some of these guys are, playing in the minors and things like that. But whatever, it should still, again, we're kind of just getting a general idea. Put him there. Let's order these so I can compare. These go over here for now. These down. These back. All right, so we've got Bergeron, yes. Krejci, yes. Saka, yes. Coyle, yes. Frederick, yes. Smith, yes. Lauku? Who is that? Where is he? There he is. So we need to add him. His cap hit is that. Studnica. Not on the list. Where are you here? Where'd he go? He traded? Well, anyways, we'll still include him because he's played time. So he either got traded or picked up. I don't think he was picked up on waivers. Okay, so let's go back here. Studnica. Marchand, yes. DeBrusque, yes. Taylor Hall, yes. Foligno, yes. Nosek, yes. Greer, yes. Pasternak, yes. That's it for forwards. And then we have Lindholm, yes. McAvoy, yes. Clifton, yes. Grizzlick, yes. Forbert, yes. Carlo, yes. Sporel, yes. Riley, yes. Strawman, no. And Stroman. Then Renault. Renouf. That's the last one. And And then now I can run the numbers after I finish. Okay, so sum all those. Sum all those. And that is goals, assists, on E17. Whoops. E17, 26. D17 to 26 equals that minus that. Okay. Equals that divided by that. Equals that divided by that. That divided by that. And that divided by that. I think that's it. We want percent. Equals that plus that equals that divided by that equals that divided by that. I think these are the last two calculations, so just a sec. All right, so let me just verify that I didn't screw something up here. Okay, so again, this is anecdotal, and I really should save this and put this in a spot for tomorrow. Okay. So, oh, and I should open that too because I am going to need it to contrast. Okay, so, what was it? Okay, yeah, so defensemen on Boston, again, this is anecdotal. Defensemen scored, and this is talking about this season up to this point in time. So, defensemen on Boston scored 9.79% of goals. So, as we were taking a look at the other data, It was 14.95. So they're scoring on Boston less than average from all the broad data that I took a look at. Uh, and then as a result, that means forwards are scoring 90.21% of the goals. So that shows you right there. Again, at least my hypothesis, or well, sorry, my opinion that forwards should get paid more and substantially more, uh, or at least noticeably more. Uh, that would indicate that I'm correct, at least in that regard. Um, for assists, actually nearly identical to what we got in the broad data. 30% of the assists are produced by defensemen. And like I said, 30.78 was from the broad data. And then 70% of the assists are from forwards, and broad data 69.22. So again, less than representation for goals, 9.79 versus 33.33 of what they're supposed to do of on any given night, the number of roster spots or spots in the starting lineup. And then assists, again, less than their representation, 30% versus 33.33. So again, proves my argument, at least superficially. Now, if we want to contrast, this is where it gets really interesting here, in my opinion. So, should we talk about defensemen first? Yeah, we'll talk about defensemen first. So, of total salary cap spending, let me just make sure that that total is correct here. Yeah. Sorry, I just want to make sure all the data is actually in there clean so there's no weird screw ups. Okay. So, of salary cap spending, defensemen make up 41.05% of the cap spending in Boston. 41.05% of the cap spending, and they only represent 9.79% of goals and 30% of assists. And their representation of roster spots, 33.33, still higher. Their cap hit 41.05. So you aren't, as far as I'm concerned, getting really good value out of these defensemen compared to, for example, or in contrast, the forwards. The cap hit is 58.95% of the cap hit. They represent 90.21% of goals and 70% of assists. Again, small sample size. It's one team. It's anecdotal, but it just really drives home, I think, how, like, for example, Charlie McAvoy is making 9.5 million. He has 2 goals. Pasternak has 27 goals, and he's making 6.67 million. Like, I mean, there it's drastic. Now, again, advanced analytics and whatever stuff that could factor in on this. But as far as I'm concerned, it's clear as day that my argument is correct. Again, anecdotal, but when you go to the broad data, it still applies. I cannot, or I could not, if I was a general manager, justify spending 9 million for a defenseman. Again, it's not just about scoring, it's about defending, it's about producing. goals, which tomorrow, when we look at primary and secondary assists and all that stuff, maybe we'll find some other interesting things. We'll see. And actually, I wasn't going to do this tomorrow, but now because I've gotten partway through and it would be too long of a stream to do both, I'll do that tomorrow instead of what was planned. But yeah, really drives home my point where defensemen should be getting paid even if there's all these advanced analytics that are proving that they're important. Even if that's true, they should not be getting paid something like 9 million unless they're Cale Makar. Adam Fox is another guy. I think his first name's Adam, from the Rangers. At least at this point, because he's young, early in his career, but he looks like he's another one of those guys like Makar. Roman Yossi, in theory, based on last year, if he did the same thing every year, would be worth it, but he hasn't done that historically, and he's getting old. So that's why I wouldn't pay him. That's why in a previous stream I said to trade him and get something back. There's like 2-3 defensemen that maybe you could justify spending 9 million, or maybe even slightly more. Maybe you could get into the 10 million for some of those defensemen because you factor in their defending, their scoring, their puck possession, their play creation, all that kind of stuff. Or you can justify spending 9 million, but it's like 3 guys in the league, basically. 2, 3 guys, maybe something like that. Otherwise, cannot in any way justify spending that much for a defenseman. It just doesn't make sense because, again, it's a game of goal scoring, winning games, and wins are based on goals for, again, factoring in goals against, but score more than the competition. And so goals are of critical importance, and you have to allocate salary spending based on that, in my opinion. So, again, superficial, not scientific, but really, I think gives strong indications that what I'm saying is perfectly accurate. Now, when you get into a guy like Hampus Lindholm, 6.5 million, he has 4 goals. Again, representation is less than what it should be, but it's closer to it. He's got 23 assists. 23 assists is second on the team in assists. So that's where you're seeing, at least, again, I don't value assists as much, but it gives you an indication that he's at least towards being worth what he's getting paid. And again, it's 1 year, it's one team, and so on, one player, and so on. But it at least illustrates what I'm trying to get to. So, yeah. So I think that's a good point to end the stream. Really like what we've discovered here, not because it's necessarily supporting my argument, but at least in part, I do feel good about it, I'll say. But it really does drive home the points I'm making, and it's, objectively speaking, ignoring how I like that I'm right or looking like I'm right. Uh, it's really, it's interesting. So it's something that you could argue against. So as a fan, saying to the GMs that they should not have done that contract, or um, people in hockey business, something to consider. Uh, it's about getting good value out of your contracts. It's not just about uh, this guy's worth this much or would fetch that much on the market. Because you can always find people that can take a discount for wanting to be on a competitive team. Uh, you have to build a reputation to get those kind of people. and have, a foundation of players that are all willing to sacrifice their salary uh, for the output or for the results of the team. Um, but it's something that franchises should be really factoring in, and especially because it's a cap league, you can't spend unlimited dollars, and especially with cap not growing that much in the short term, like you really have to be very disciplined uh, in your spending on salaries and stuff, and the contracts that you sign. So yeah, it drives home a lot of the points that I try to make. All those haters saying that I'm an idiot. Maybe I am an idiot, but at least this kind of proves a point that I'm not fully crazy, uh, and that I do have a rationale behind what I'm saying. Again, I didn't do these numbers before, so it was kind of um, from instinct and stuff. But I mean, from my business background, I already had an idea that this was going to be the case, and my hockey background. Not that it's substantial, but at least I've watched hockey in depth for a long time. So, anyways, so hope you enjoyed. If you did, hit the like button, share with your friends. Please do subscribe. That'll help my numbers and growth of the channel. Turn on notifications to be advised of. Hopefully it tells you when I change schedules and things like that. I don't know if it does. I really should be testing that, but I haven't done that yet. And otherwise, if you go to my channel homepage, it'll tell you the time. If you are on it and I haven't started, refresh the page because it might tell you that I changed the time. I usually won't just let it go past my anticipated start time without changing it. So, anyways, so that's how to keep track. Comments, please, even if you're razzing me, making fun of me, by all means, it cracks me up. I'll laugh at it. Not hurt by negative comments, but constructive would be helpful if you're trying to accomplish anything. Constructive if you think that I've missed something, or for example, if you're in advanced analytics and things that I'm saying actually don't make sense and you can prove it with data, that would be fantastic. I'd love to discover things that I don't know, learn more about advanced analytics, because at this point I'm not experienced in them. So to be exposed to those types of things would be fantastic. But substance to your arguments or your disagreements would be nice. Even just the hating is fantastic anyways. It's because it's funny to look at. So yeah, and then last, of course, suggestions for subjects. I mix the two words together. Would be nice because then I can do things that you guys would find interesting. So that's where we'll stop it. I know you're supposed to. Mr. B says to chop things off. Don't go through all that long spiel at the end, but I do need to say those things, and eventually maybe I won't. But whatever. Cool. So thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you tomorrow. And we'll see if there's some different results. Don't know if we will, but it'll be interesting, at least to see. So anyways, thanks for tuning in. See you tomorrow.